Well, hello. Hi. Hi.
Hello.
Hi, honey. How are you?
Hi. Long time no see. It's like I just saw you yesterday.
It was late last night when I just dropped you off at a bar.
Yeah, my mom dropping me off at a bar. It's so much fun. Came inside.
To go meet your booty call. Just kidding.
Hey,
this
that's
is what we're
rude.
doing. I know.
That's rude.
It is rude because actually he was a very nice young man that I got to meet. I really like him.
Yeah, you're rude. Not a booty call.
No.
Mom played some pool, beat some young men in pool. A hidden talent that I didn't know she had.
I know. My first shot I had to actually do behind my back, actually. No, we used to play pool a lot in the 90s.
It was very impressive. You did a full behind the back shot, and the guys that were standing there were like, "Oh my god! Like, really? look at you! Like fancy."
Yeah. So CG has a new guy it's in her life, so it's really sweet. But I'm not saying anything more than that.
That information doesn't need to be public yet.
Okay. Well, just whatever. Okay.
No more details.
Let's get back. Welcome to Beyond the OC, which we've decided is a state of mind because we're not. I guess people really like I posted a social about how we were talking about we're never really over the show or beyond the show. We had some nice comments on that. But anyway, let's get on to one of the episodes in this entire series that Josh Schwartz just shakes his head about. Apparently,
I will say this was an interesting episode, and it was quite a nail biter too.
Really?
I had no idea what direction it was going to go in.
Okay. We also have a few people in the audience. Let's see who's over here. Who's over here in our audience?
Josephine and Steven have said hello.
Oh, hi, Steven. Hi, Josephine. Thanks for being here. Yes, if you're a part of the Patreon, you can not only do we discuss the episodes weekly, but you can join the audience and tell us what you think and all that kind of stuff. Be the peanut gallery, so to speak. So this episode is number 42 in our OC Rewind, The Perfect Storm, Season 3, Episode 5. Yeah, whatever that means.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go. I'm strangely running on empty. My voice sounds awesome. Just like I've been getting over a cough. It's great. I had a voiceover audition this morning and they wanted somebody who could speak really deep.
Yeah, and I have a little bit of anxiety right now.
Do you?
But we're living. It's fine.
Oh no, that means that you're going to be uncensored.
Yeah, maybe. My heart rate is going.
CG was telling everybody last night in the car after a few margaritas, and I was the DD, how she loves to make me cringe on this podcast. And
it's so much fun.
Safe space.
It brings so much joy to my life.
Oh, boy.
And it was the first time I had drank in almost 3 months.
Yeah.
So the margaritas got to me and I was a hoot. I'm a hoot. What can I say?
You were very funny. You were very cute.
I'm a hoot.
Well, I'm actually starting to think we could have a drinking game on this podcast because every time CG says the word
you bitch.
You're a valley girl.
You're so mean.
But I think people would come away pretty drunk. So, but we're all Southern, or when she says DILF.
Thank you, Josephine. DILF.
Okay. Now, yeah. Okay.
Mom, you might need a couple drinks for this episode. I keep saying DILF.
Oh, no. Stop
okay.
it.
Go ahead. Read the synopsis. Let's get into it. Enough chit chat.
This is the episode.
Let's get down to business.
That was just on the last podcast. Rachel was so beside herself. Like Ryan becomes a fisherman. What becomes a fisherman? She was like, just could not tell her that.
Josh, and Josh goes, season 3.
Yeah. So I thought about this.
Read the synopsis.
That it's like the voice of the guy singing SpongeBob SquarePants, or it's Jack Sparrow going,
lives in a pineapple.
Ahoy, mateys. Picture this. A young Ryan Atwood stuck in the posh port of Newport Beach, ready to swap school books for a sailor's life, thanks to that scallywag Dean Hess, branding him a brute. Meanwhile, Kirsten's whipping up a breakfast so fancy it'd make Blackbeard blush, but the lads abandon it faster than a pirate fleeing a bath. Summer, crafty as a sea fox, plots against Taylor and Hess, Dean Hess that is, turning their secret tryst into a shipwreck. Enter Captain Sandy, with a plan sharper than a parrot's beak, forcing Hess to walk the academic plank, and saving Ryan's future. Just as Ryan's about to hoist anchor, Shut up, CG. He realizes his true treasure isn't gold or jewels, but Marissa. So he stays anchored in Newport, proving that even pirates can find love on dry land. What?
I was holding in my laughter the whole time. You do a very good pirate voice. That was funny.
Ah, you scallywag.
Yeah, and I mean, you wrote that intro. You know a lot of pirate slang, and your little parrot. Paul, you want a cracker?
That was because Summer was so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Josephine. She said, "I'm impressed. You keep the voice
Paul,
up."
you want a
with
cracker?
synopsis.
Well, before we get into it, you were saying that this is like the season that Josh is just like season 3. So someone commented on Instagram, PJ Nelson 82, crazy how much hate season 3 gets, but it's been mostly season 3 episodes in the top 50 so far, which is true. But also we're at the bottom 5th.
Well,
of it. I feel like as we go on, it'll be less season 3.
Because to be honest, if we allowed people to just pick their favorite episodes, then we might not have gotten to season 3 and 4. But we asked people to pick their top 10 in each season or something like that, or top 5 or whatever it was. I can't remember. So that we did have some from every season. But yes, you will start having more season 2 and season 1 as we get closer to the low numbers, which
it's probably going to be all season 2 and 1 as we get in the top like 25 or something. I have a feeling.
Yeah.
I have a feeling the season 3 finale might be in there somewhere.
Well, yeah, we'll see. Don't know. Gosh,
I don't know.
And if
I don't
for
know.
some reason
I haven't seen the list.
You know what? I'll look at the list, but at some point, if there's something missing that maybe we'll have a special, like it didn't make the list, but here's my favorite scene or here's a favorite episode. Because I do
honorable mentions.
Josephine's mentioning, because season 4 I personally liked for some of the storylines, but anyway, let's get into this. So one of the things that how we format this podcast is that we post the episodes and we ask for people's comments, and really nobody talked about the Julie Charlotte thing. So I didn't write any comments for that.
Well, I'm curious. I do want to talk about that.
Okay, let's get that over with.
I didn't know where you were because, again, we're watching all this stuff out of order. So I didn't know if you were like at the trailer park already or whatever. It was so funny. Julie dressed to the nines, sitting on this ratty beach chair next to this nasty pool while a cop is literally detaining someone. I thought it was so funny. Like, no matter where she is, she's going to look good, even though she's at this ratty motel.
Right.
It's very funny.
It mirrors, actually, it's a very similar shot to a shot, and maybe Josephine knows this, or you, our fans over here. There's a very similar shot of Julie in season 1 where she's talking. Well, there's one at the spa where she talks. And anyway, it's a very similar shot of Julie and it was a very different location.
Right. I feel like I remember that. You're wearing like pink or something.
Yeah. I think it's when Julie and Kirsten went to the spa or something, and she's talking about getting a divorce. But and she's got her sunglasses on. But I said this in the last podcast. You will never, except for a couple times where she gets caught off guard when she's in the trailer, but you'll never see her not dressed to the nines, because at this point, she's just literally been kicked out of the house and she's trying to keep up the facade that is, she doesn't want anyone to know that she's destitute at this point.
I didn't really know the whole Charlotte thing. I guess this episode is kind of like she's roping you into whatever scheme it is. I don't remember what the scheme is, but I was like, if I was Julie, I would not be like, oh, you're just buying a condo for me and putting it in my name. Like, Julie's even skeptical at first. But she accepted it too quickly. Yeah. I would have been like, no, show me the deed. Like, show me, like, the paperwork with my name. Like, I want all this information. Like, and Julie was just like, wow, okay, thanks.
No, and I think this is where Julie, her street smarts are a little rusty, because she would have seen right through that. And now, I don't think this was Julie in her top form. That's how blinded by what
needing to get back into society. She was.
But there's a couple little just behind the scenes things that I noticed. This was one of my favorite scenes when she first, with the realtor, when she walks in, and I just noticed things. And I got to be honest, actually, when I watched this episode, because I was sick and I had a fever and a couple days ago and I wasn't feeling so great. And I was watching, and every once in a while I watch, and I'm like, oh, my hair looks so good. I was young.
Your hair looks so good right now, Mom.
Oh, well, thanks. But that was thousands of dollars of extensions on the show. You could see like it was big, this big like mane of hair. And I thought, for a moment I was like, what? Oh, gone are those days. And then of course I kind of snap out of it and think like, it's fine. We don't want to go back. But Julie wearing like the midriff and, that's the kind of outfit that I was fighting for, because that's how you see.
I know you said in the earlier seasons, they kind of made her look older because you looked too young to be a mom of a teenager. So they tried to make you look older with the outfits. But yes, that's how moms in Newport actually dress. You can't tell the difference between the daughters and the moms. Yeah. They're like sisters.
Well, let's see. So there's a couple things in this episode that are just like you said, nail biting.
Maybe nail biting wasn't the right word, but like
grating.
Yeah. Like, what is going on? Like,
right.
I've said it before. I'll say it again. I hate Johnny. He makes me so upset. Like, just looking at his face, I'm like...
Tiny Tim. He's like Tiny Tim.
I don't like him.
Okay.
But I will say, though, shout out Kaylee Ewell.
Oh, yeah.
Love seeing her in this episode.
Yeah. Well, so then let's jump into the Taylor Dean Hess, because the two storylines...
No, I want to talk about Johnny and Ryan first.
Oh, okay.
That little thing. I want to get it out of the way, because I don't want Johnny's name in my mouth anymore later.
Okay, well, what part of it?
I think you guys talked about this on the last podcast. Was Johnny calculated trying to get Ryan a job on the boat? And I think so. I think he is manipulative and he didn't think he was doing something good for Marissa. I think he was like, opportunity to get Ryan out of here. Let's do it. Like, maybe at first he had good intentions, but then once like he was like, oh, like Ryan, maybe I can get him out of the picture.
I think this is a kind of episode where you're not giving enough credit to the audience. There was so much continuity. There were so many inconsistencies in the continuity that the audience gets frustrated when we take revisionist history. And what we're learning here is there is a lot of revisionist history. Like the fact that, and I noticed this when we talked about the fact that Frank, he was talked about as being abusive and putting hands on. And then when we interviewed Josh and he was like, oh no, he was never physically abusive. That was revisionism.
But yeah, there were two comments on. So I'm not alone in my beliefs.
No, there was an argument about this.
Desperate Twist 1 said, I think he was trying to help Ryan, but at the same time didn't mind the idea of shipping him off. And Omar 111, angel number, said 100% shipping him off. LOL. You're in love with a girl who you think might be in love with you, but has a boyfriend who she also loves and is hesitant to leave. Boyfriend needs a job and your uncle works on a boat. LOL. I agree. It was calculated.
Yeah. I think personally, my takeaway from the very beginning is this is too early for him to have. He's still with Kayla's character. He's still not. No, I think he genuinely thought that. Also, everyone's all up in arms with these television tropes.
Naivety.
He's leaving for maybe 3 weeks, but then somebody said, well, it's 3 weeks depending on the conditions. Is it really that big of a deal that he's going to ship off? I think the whole thing is more that
I think it's
giving up.
Yeah, it's a big deal because he's doing this instead of continuing school. Like, if he graduated and was like, I don't want to go to college, I want to do this, or like did it in the summer, like, I don't think it would have been a big deal. But the big deal is that he's quitting school.
Okay, well, do you want to continue talking about Ryan and Marissa because we're on it?
No, yeah.
Well, okay, so then let's get in, because a lot of people had, when I posted this, I'm like, do you guys remember that episode where Ryan was going to ship off and become a fisherman? And people were like, some people were like, that was so random. It was so out of nowhere. And, as you're watching it, my memory is like, yeah, it was so out of nowhere. But I went along with it as I was rewatching.
You have to buy into it with things like this, like suspension of disbelief. You got to buy into it. And like Ryan he did come from Chino and all this stuff. And he's still the broody Ryan, even though it's season 3 and he's like refined in Newport. He's still like broody Ryan. Like, this is something Ryan in season 1 would have done. Like, he ran off with Teresa. Like, he did all these things. Like, it was weird, but also like I think, very in line for Ryan's character. I think it was way dramatic, but given the other things he's done on like a whim, like going back to Chino with Teresa, like all those, like, I don't know. It didn't seem super off pace for what his character would do given the circumstances.
I'm sorry to jump back, but I think it's important because it combines. It's not just Dean Hess and then the Ryan Marissa storyline. They kind of combine because
it's all together.
Yeah, it really is because he did fucking punch the dean in the face.
Oh yeah, no, he should be kicked out of school, but I think the packing up and I'm gonna go on a boat, like Marissa, it has to be in public school, and she wasn't like, I'm gonna quit school.
Okay,
but I think it was dramatic, but I think it was very Ryan,
right?
Like it was totally something he would do. And someone said, username is _ take it up a notch, said he was totally overreacting and acting like a victim, quote unquote. Woe is me, I'm not meant for graduating because my real family, who I don't even see anymore, sucks. Which I get, but like he always will have that part of like Chino, the way he grew up in him.
Right. But now, okay, this was motivated because when they were at the fair, Ryan overhears Sandy talking to Dean Hess, and he's like, I'm not ever going to, and he's like, it's over. I'm never going to go to college.
Dean Hess is like, I'm going to destroy his future.
Right.
Like, I want to do that.
And somebody on Reddit with no name, I don't know if they deleted their name, it said Ryan was definitely dramatic as fuck for jumping ship immediately because he might not get into an Ivy League school. Like what? Yeah. Okay. Life is so over. It's ugh. Ryan was being such a drama queen there, lol. And this is a conversation between a couple of people. And it was only because that Dean didn't want him at Harbor. Yes, Marissa was also defeatist about college later on, but she wasn't like, the only thing left for me is a lousy job lost at sea. And she actually had reasons to think she wouldn't be reinstated at Harbor at any time. So unlike Ryan. Sorry if that sounded a little confusing. Sometimes it's written a little confusing.
It's okay. You didn't sleep well.
I didn't. I was coughing all night. So I don't know, but I do think like it was when what was the saddest moment watching this, when Sandy thinks, first he gives him permission to go off, and then Kirsten and Seth were like, Dad, like, don't do that. And, it was such a power play between the two of them to see what he would do. And when he says, I thought you were going to say, change your mind. And he says, I might not be an Atwood, but I'm not even a Cohen. Like, this is where the writing
feels bold
like
statement.
There's a lot of things out of left field. And then Josephine just said, I think Ryan was insecure throughout the show, feeling as though he didn't belong at Harbor or in Newport. So I think it's just set him deeper into his already existing insecurity.
I agree. That makes sense. And this made me laugh because talking about Ryan and Marissa, this whole episode was he's a boyfriend and didn't tell her that he's leaving for 3 weeks. If that was my boyfriend, I'd be like, what?
Or more.
Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like, 2 shots. I just said like twice. So this whole episode, I thought, I was like, there's just too much chaos. And now I'm going to keep thinking
Don't
about
worry
it.
about it.
Say like because of you.
Hey, you grew up in the Valley.
But like, it was just
oh no,
drama between them. Like at the end, when Ryan's getting on the boat and Marissa comes and says like, you're just like my father trying to leave on a boat to fix everything. But like,
it's being a coward.
You're being a coward by trying to leave on a boat, but that didn't fix anything for him. Like, I understand why I'm so upset with you. They just have a lot of fucking trauma together and drama and issues. And I don't think the Trey thing has happened yet.
Oh, no, it did. It happened in season 2.
It did?
That's why this has all happened.
Okay.
Sorry.
Then season 2.
3. We're in season 3 now. At the end of season 2, he gets shot. And
okay, that's the end of season 2. Okay, got it.
I know we are bouncing around. Here,
yeah. Season 2 finale was Trey getting shot. I got it. I'm up to speed. Ooh, what you say? But someone said Taylor _ made 1692 said Ryan and Marissa sucked together, no chemistry, only stress. And I agree. I was very stressed in this episode watching them. And I was like, there's just a lot they haven't talked about. They all need to go in fucking therapy and stop trauma bonding to each other and deal with their shit.
Well, because that's the thing. We keep saying all these kids need therapy. It's a they're running away from their feelings. This doesn't feel good. Here's the thing that I think human beings do.
I'm upset that I'm not going to go to college, ship off on a boat.
Or if I can just go here, I'll be happy. Or if I just get this, I'll be happy. Guess what? No matter where you go, there you are, as in the words of Shay, Chris Pratt. But you have to work on yourself no matter where you are. So there's Jafe said Ryan and Marissa would have been shipped if not from Oliver when she denies few times when Ryan tried to convince that he was bad news, and with the letter and still mistreated Ryan. Unfair of evidence got lied to when they finally revealed, and sadly became flawed in Misha's role unlikable. That was an interesting way of putting it. I'm just reading verbatim, but Marissa's role ended up being unlikable, I guess. I don't know about that, but I don't know. I think I love that she had the guts to say, I can't figure out why I'm so angry. And it's because when like you said, you remind me of Jimmy.
Yeah. I don't know. They're just it's just so much drama between them. And I'm when they're good, they're good. But when they're bad, it's oh my God, you need to break up. You are not good for each other.
I got to say, somebody noticed on the last podcast when we had Eric Mabius on, who played Dean Hess. What a lovely man. Just really.
He was super funny.
I don't know. It's just a great example of somebody who's just a solid working actor, just who's a father, husband, just a great attitude about.
And he played an asshole really well.
Yeah. I know. And it was black and white. There was no vulnerability with this guy. I mean, he was designed to bring drama, and I do think they kind of shipped him off pretty quickly. But somebody made the point that they said, OG Jakey on YouTube, he said, so Misha, this was a comment on our original podcast, Misha shoots him, Eric Mabius, in Lawn Dogs and in the OC. He is kicking her out of school for shooting Trey. That is so freaking weird. I can't believe you guys just glossed over that. So Rachel and I didn't catch that. And yes, there are 6 degrees of weirdness when it comes to Hollywood.
Weird Hollywood overlap.
Yeah.
But so speaking of Dean Hess, the Dean Hess and Taylor storyline.
Yes.
I think I didn't think, like we said, we're bouncing around. I'm not watching in order. I haven't watched it in 6 years. I don't remember Taylor being such a bitch.
This is when she first came on the show. This is the early part. Yeah.
Rude.
Yeah.
And then we 2 or 3 weeks ago, we just watched the Save Marissa episode, and Taylor's we're all a fun gang.
Yeah.
But in this one, she's
she's
a bitch.
She has a developed arc. Yes. Just like Julie did. Man X Steel on Instagram. Dean Hess was a really good villain, and I was so glad that Taylor was key to his downfall. Love all the twists. Now, this is a viewer who understands we need villains.
Oh yeah, no, right? I mean the villains are important.
Yeah.
The reason I react, I say this every podcast, I have these such strong reactions. And it has nothing to do with I don't like the writing or the storyline. It's that they're doing it well because it's making me hate these people. So they're doing their job.
Yeah. But then, of course, most people, like all of us, had the reaction. UFC Brantman 15 on Instagram said, Taylor and Dean Hess's relationship wasn't just inappropriate, it was also disgusting. Of course.
So when Rachel was Summer was following Taylor, and Taylor's oh, you're following me, blah, blah, blah. I thought it was cute at first. They have that little interaction. And they're talking about Ryan or something. And the fact that Taylor just offers up the information that her and Dean Hess are really close. She was if you haven't noticed, I'm really close with Dean Hess. So I can make sure Ryan doesn't get back into this school. And I'm girl, if you're having if you're making out with the dean, why are you willingly offering up information saying that you're close with him? Wouldn't you want to be more discreet? A student-teacher relationship is highly, highly illegal. Wouldn't you want to be discreet? She's we have a really good relationship, if you didn't notice.
Right.
I'm are you trying to be found out?
Well, but at the same time, she feels above the law, or, people get a little bit high and mighty and entitled, and she thinks, I don't know. She just thinks she's smarter than everyone.
Yeah.
And, that's eventually people get caught,
But it was gross.
It was gross.
Weird.
And, okay, can I just say something? Because I was on Reddit and, sometimes I look back to see what old conversations were. And somebody wrote, the title was, the Reddit conversation was, the most punchable, this is from RCL1221 on Reddit. The title was, most punchable face in the OC? Fuck Dean Hess. All my homies hate Dean Hess. And it was...
Fuck Dean Hess.
Right.
Let's make Fuck Dean Hess t-shirts.
Okay, I'm making sure this is explicit, not for kids. Anyway, but of course, then the rest of the conversation where people were like, Oliver, Johnny, Jimmy, how come no one's talking about Jimmy?
Dean Hess.
But I think Dean Hess is a punchable face for sure. Like,
I mean, Ryan got to it. He punched it.
But like,
he did what we wanted to do.
I believe this may have been like, although my favorite punch was Sandy punching Frank. I loved Sandy punching Frank.
I don't remember that.
Well, then you can.
Is it in season 4?
Yes. So you need to go back and watch this whole series before.
I haven't watched it in like 6 years.
Okay, we're stopping the podcast till you rewatch the whole series.
Okay, hiatus, guys. I actually hurt my back, so if I'm not going back to work, then I'll have a lot of time to watch it.
I need you to watch before and afters.
But I love this storyline. It's another one of those, like, the parents and the core 4 are, like, in cahoots with each other again. Like, it's Seth and Summer, and they get Sandy to, like, help them with the scheme. It was so funny. I know Rachel said this on the last podcast, that a lot of that scene when Taylor shows up at the motel, and they're there, Seth and Summer are like, we gotcha. Like, I know Rachel said it was a lot of improv, but it was so funny. Like, Seth being like, she's hard as ice, and going like, yeah.
It was an example of season 3. We know how unhappy people were.
But it was fun.
I think the actors, let's be fair, even though the scenarios and sometimes the scenes were not like challenging or super exciting, we still wanted to make them fun. And I think that was a perfect example of, they're in cahoots and there's shenanigans going on, and they're kind of in this kind of comedic, solve a mystery kind of thing. And that was Adam absolutely entertaining himself.
Yeah. Rachel said that they had a lot of fun doing that scene. She said it was fun.
It's better than being apathetic, just not caring, which is, I think you can see that a little bit later on in the seasons, but this was at least, trying to have fun. And there are scenes where you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm doing this scene.
Yeah. Like when you make out with your daughter's ex-boyfriend.
Oh no, that was fun. Chris and I were we knew that it was a good storyline.
Dilf.
Shut up.
But I also loved how, again, Sandy is in on this scheme. And that scene, it brings you back to lawyer, save the day Sandy. And I love it. And someone says, though, I will say, good point, the flowers you find on Reddit said, worst part of that scene is Sandy telling him to go find a position on the East Coast. Sandy is one of the most moral characters and yet seems fine with letting the guy continue to teach. Quote unquote, Dean Hess, your days of having affairs with students are over, ... in California. Can you go have affairs with them in New York instead? Which I was like, I mean, yeah, who's to say he's not going to stop?
It felt like there were scenes that were cut out because you cut from them at the hotel to all of a sudden Sandy's just walking in. And this, you can tell when they say, like the writers will say, here's a storyline and we got to wrap it up quick. And there's a way we can draw it out for a couple of episodes, or we can, because Dean, if he was that tough, he'd be like, show me the pictures. But he doesn't even he knows at the moment that anybody even says something or brings a complaint, then it's going to be out there and blah, blah, blah. But it was a quick wrap up to just get out. And it felt a little
yeah, like Eric maybe has said this on the last one. He was like, given the previous episodes with Dean Hess, I don't think he would have been so quick to fold and be like, Taylor's a very pushy girl. Like he would have been like, okay, show me the photos, or are you bluffing?
Right.
Like given his position and his intelligence and just the way he is, like, I think he would have been like, show me the pictures.
Yeah.
I think you're bluffing. But still, I love when Sandy does these little like schemes like this. It's back to like lawyer Sandy, back to his roots.
Right. Well, after Marissa does say, when she goes and she tells Ryan off, and they're back at the diner, it was really sweet when she says, he's gone. He actually left, and they're like, dang, I thought we actually have a way of we figured it out. We're gonna get him back in, and he shows up, and he's like, I don't know where my life is gonna go. I know it's with you, and I just love that little angle. And Marissa, and she looked so sweet and innocent, and the tear coming out of her. And then they're walking down the beach, and
yeah, I have questions. So someone said on Instagram, bar545, one of my favorite season 3 episodes. Seth had some of the best lines in this episode. Ryan Atwood, bullfighter, bounty hunter, and fluffer.
And then
you guys were like,
Marissa
oh my
goes,
God.
Who is that? What is that?
Yeah, I'm going to ask, what is that?
You are?
I don't know what that is.
So in a pornographic...
Is this going to be a very explicit episode?
No, in a pornographic adult film, to get the men into the proper, shall we say, readiness, there would be a person that would fluff to get them into the...
I don't know what that means.
Like a woman would perform oral sex on the male star to get him ready to go do the action, a fluffer. So that's why we know that was an improv. It wasn't written, and it got by standards and practices. So, and Misha probably was like, what's that? Or they were just and that's where, I'm not sure who edited this, probably Matt Ramsey, possibly, or Norman, but they would keep that stuff in because they like to keep that.
To try and slip it by.
I mean, that's part of...
Yeah, because you guys were saying on the last podcast, you're like, that was so funny. Like,
and you're still
like,
not, no.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is.
Well, I'm glad I got you to say that on the podcast. Talk about oral sex on the podcast.
That's the highlight of the podcast.
That's how I get to make you uncomfortable today. Can you say oral sex again?
Oral sex. Okay, I'm inviting our guest in here.
Hello, Melinda.
Hi, Jason. Well, welcome. You left me a really great speak pipe about this episode. Do you remember what you said, and what are your about this episode?
Yeah, I believe it was more the lines of like being so satisfied that this was the whole wrap up of the whole Dean Hess arc.
Yeah.
That I'm sure a lot of people back in 2006 or what have you were probably just like uplifted that whole thing was just like ended because we all hated that character.
Right. I know. So how old were you when you first watched the OC?
Well, here's a shocker. I did not watch the OC when it was on TV at the time because I grew up with siblings and I had an older brother who tuned into it every Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just a guy that would watch like cartoon blocks off Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network or Adult Swim,
right?
Because that was my jam.
that was my jam when the OC was coming out too.
Yeah, I mean, it took me until like over a decade later. I was wrapping up my final year of college, conveniently UC Irvine by Newport.
Oh yeah.
So I found a show based off a recommendation from one of my closest friends. I got the show off iTunes on a bargain, and I was just, it'd be much to say I just enjoyed the show for what it is, but I was pretty much like transported back to like a time capsule of the whole mid 2000s culture that it was surrounded in.
Well, if you went to Irvine, then you hung out in Newport Beach. Did you find it to be? You probably would go to Newport from time to time. I imagine it's just right across the way.
Yeah, I worked numerous jobs there, including one where I used to work crew at a movie theater. So that was for the most part, it was fun. It was exciting for a time, but like job loads here and there, I left that post for something else, and I have hung out Newport a couple times, but I gotta tell you, it's not really my jam.
So do you think it's like realistic that Ryan would go to this place and be like, it's a weird place, it's not like where I grew up, right?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Ryan coming into Newport, being like taking him from Sandy, he was definitely in another world. Mm-hmm. As opposed to Chino.
Yeah.
So it's a huge juxtaposition of environments. But for me personally, I've been to many areas like Newport, so it wasn't all that fresh for me, especially after a while. But, is there it's mainly there in the show just as an escapist factor.
Yeah.
But then you uncover more when you're presented with this, like I said before, this front that is like this paradise, idyllic paradise for people.
And it's super messy behind those manicured lawns and those gated houses. And, although I do think, South Coast Plaza, where Marissa used to shop and steal watches, is right there. And it's, in fact, CG and I were just at the Irvine Spectrum recently, and it's, it's a nice, like you said, it's just kind of this perfect, idyllic utopia, and behind closed doors, everyone's like an alcoholic, or they're embezzling money, or they're cheating on spouses, and there's drugs, and there's all kinds of things going on. So it's I love that. I love that you actually went to UC Irvine.
Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about like this episode and why, out of all the episodes, I don't know if you've been following our podcast, but like this one is the one where you said on my Instagram, I think it was my Instagram, you're like, I am sending a voicemail on this one. Like, what is it about this? Not just Dean Hess, but was it like the fact CG and I were talking about, it was so like just out of nowhere that he's going to become a fisherman or go on Deadliest Catch?
Yeah, I always felt that struck me very odd, and I think that's pretty much like a symptom of the state of that whole season. Because I was doing some last minute homework behind the whole story of season 3. Like, you guys had a whole change of just like the higher ups with the studio, and that led to just introducing so many subplots, villains, antagonists, and these weird things established. But like, it's just like it felt out of left field. And regarding the whole fisherman story with Ryan, I did not see Ryan going into that like right away, because it is presented in the show as like a reckless decision he's making, because he's backed up to a corner. Like, this is the low point for most of all the characters in season 3. And Ryan, like Dean Hess being hell bent on not like giving Ryan like a promising future, him being thrown out of harbor, and then let alone not even making a public attendance at this college fair, which is
That's true.
It's another story. But yeah, like the whole fisherman thing, like I would have pictured him like leaving Newport for a line of construction, because that's what we've seen of him. Like the whole construction work, the blue collar jobs he takes in construction, that's definitely up his resume, with him going into architecture, like building up that experience.
Yeah, I feel like it's not just this one thing. If you see Ryan throughout everything that's been happening, between the weight of Trey coming into his life, and then Marissa having to I think he's dealing with so much that when you don't actually deal with it and process it, as good as Sandy and Kirsten are, they're not getting therapy for these kids, that at some point he's like, I need to get out of here. I need to run away. And I think this idea that if I just leave, maybe everyone's life will be better. No, he's not saying that right now, but we get into that in season 4, after Marissa passes.
Yeah.
And sorry guys, spoiler. But I think there's it seems out of left field, but I think there's a lot, we don't know what's going on in Ryan's mind. And I feel like this is kind of just leading up to this. And I kind of bought it, actually.
Yeah, I could see your point there, because everyone's at a low point. At this stage for Ryan, with all the shit that's happened, with Trey, Marissa and Ryan at this point would need serious counseling.
Yeah.
They need therapy bad.
Yeah. I mean, Josephine in our audience, she said, I think he viewed it as just a manual labor job. He was in the mindset that architecture was a pipe dream, and he wasn't really trying to pursue it. Even when he did construction in the past, I think he did it because he felt he didn't deserve to do something other than manual labor. And also, I think there's something he probably finds that when you do something with your hands, sometimes it's a good escape. Like, you're just focused on the task at hand. You're not thinking about the pain. He is in so much pain. I think that's just a natural, like, to get away and survive. He's not thriving right now. He's feeling like he's He just needs to survive, and why fight it anymore? But that being said, do you have any other episodes or storylines or favorite characters that you just love, that you might relate to or gravitate to in this entire series?
I definitely look up to Ryan
Yeah.
As one of my favorite characters. He's definitely, the dude's got like, he's had like such a hard life, and him being brought into Newport, this different environment, but it would benefit him for the best. But like, there's so much stuff that trails him, whether it's like dealing with Marissa, but in this case, in this episode, Marissa needs Ryan more so than Ryan needs to escape, like, from his current problems right now. But he just has like this very stoic, mature understanding of things. And yeah, you can make the argument they both need therapy, but I think Ryan's like, considering the trauma, he's, maintained himself pretty well, even in like the toughest, darkest situations. But I always looked up to Ryan as like pretty much like my spirit animal. Despite like having such a hard life and trying to make the best in Newport, he really, all he wants is just to avoid trouble and just put himself out there, where people around him can be more trusting, more happy with him, as he wants to be happy with his own life.
Right. Can I ask you a question? In season 4, when he was cage fighting, what did you think about that?
I think it was pretty awesome.
Did you?
Like, yeah, cage fighting Ryan. That's like my gig. But
Okay.
For story context, like, I get why he's there in that situation, concerning the infamous ending of season 3 that left people in shock.
Yeah.
And it left the show like pretty much in a much more rockier place than how you guys carried out in season 3. Like, it's a miracle. But yeah, Cage Fighter Ryan, it's definitely my jam.
Was that one of your favorite episodes, or do you have a favorite episode?
For favorite episodes, the first 5 or 6 episodes of season 1.
Where it goes to Tijuana.
Season 1,
the first 7. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I mean, it's unanimous that season 1's like the best of the whole show. But yeah, regarding season 4, Cage Fighter Ryan, first couple episodes were pretty good.
Not what you expected, right?
Well, there's a lot of things after that whole arc that I did not expect. I think I could come out and say like season 4 is like my least favorite because of all the weird.
It's probably it's everyone's least favorite.
Yeah, because it's just like a very bizarre curveball after season 3, and I think it's season 4 is a victim of just like there's no repair for this big hole that's left.
Right.
With Marissa being
written
out of the show. It's just like it's hard to fill that hole. And going back into the tone of like season 1, it just felt like it felt a little too late. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it just feels like, and I think what we've learned is that television shows like this are comforting, and the returning audience, the ones that actually stuck with us, are like, okay, we'll go with you on this journey. But the ones that didn't were too devastated by Marissa's death and said, "You've ruined it for me. It's too painful for me to watch a show that doesn't have my character on it anymore. I do not accept this. I'm moving on. See ya, sayonara." They're like out there. Oh man. Well, Jason, thank you so much for all of your thoughts. And it really, really, like, I love your thoughtful insights. And again, people, if you would love to share your thoughts the way Jason did, please leave us messages or emails at speakpipe.com. Everyone, thank you all so much for listening. Please be sure to check my Instagram, the stories and the posts at the Melinda Clark, as well as our weekly Reddit thread for what episodes we're covering next. Will it be one of your favorites? If so, please go to speakpipe.com/ocbitch or email us at beyondtheocpodcast@gmail.com to let us know why and what makes it your favorite. Do you have a favorite line, a favorite scene? We might play your voicemail on the show or ask you to come on live to discuss. If you'd like to watch this podcast, please check it out on Beyond the OC YouTube channel. You can leave comments there too.
If you want to be a part of the conversation, you can join our Patreon to get episodes early and ad-free, and to discuss the previous week's episodes live on Zoom. And you can be an audience member while we record, leave comments. Super fun. We have a few regulars if you want to come be a part of that. And join us next week for number 41 in the countdown. Drum roll, please. The Way We Were, Season 2, Episode 2.
Ooh, see, we're getting into the earlier seasons now. Yeah.
With that being said, Jason, do you want to do it with us?
We're going to say bye.
Bye, bitches.
Bitches. OC and chill.
Oh, cool.
Oh, yeah. OC and chill.
OC and chill. Okay, chill.
Nice.
Rock on.